What would you do if the person you trusted most in this world took everything from you? Your money, your home, your dignity, your future, and then walked away like you never existed? Would you cry? Would you accept it? Or would you disappear, rebuild yourself in silence, and come back so powerful that the person who destroyed you would not even recognize? This is the story of Amara, a woman who lost everything and came back to take it all. Amara was a 34-year-old Nigerian woman living in Lagos. She was not rich, but she was not poor. She had a decent job as an accountant at a mid-sized company. She had a small but comfortable apartment. She had a few close friends. And she had a husband named Chidi. Chidi was the kind of man that everyone admired from the outside. Tall, handsome, well-spoken, charming. He had the kind of smile that made people trust him instantly. He worked in real estate and always, talked about big deals and big plans and big money. Amara loved Chidi deeply. She believed in him. She supported him. When he said he needed money to close a deal, she gave it to him without hesitation. When he said the deal fell through and he needed more money, she gave him more. When he said he was working late, she believed him. When he said he was traveling for business, she packed his bag and kissed him goodbye. Amara trusted Chidi the way you trust the ground. Beneath your feet, completely, blindly, without question. They had been married for 6 years. No children yet. Chidi always said the time was not right. He said they needed to be more financially stable first. He said once his big deal came through, they would start a family. Amara agreed. She was patient. She was understanding. She was the kind of wife that other women envied and other men wished they had. But Chidi was not the man Amara thought he was. Behind the charming smile and the expensive suits and the big talk about real estate deals, Chidi was a fraud. He was not closing deals. He was not building a business. He was taking Amara's money and funneling it into another life. A life that Amara knew nothing about. Chidi had another woman. Her name was Vivian. Vivian was younger, flashier. She loved designer bags and expensive restaurants and Instagram photos that made her look like she was living a luxury life. And Chidi was funding all of it with Amara's money. But it got worse, much worse. One afternoon, Amara came home from work early because she was not feeling well. She walked into their apartment and found it half empty. The television was gone. The furniture was gone. Her jewelry box was gone. Her savings that she kept in a small safe in the bedroom was gone. The safe was open and empty. Amara stood in the middle of her stripped apartment and felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. She called Chidi. His phone was switched off. She called again. Switched off. She called his office. They said he had resigned 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. He had been planning this for weeks and she did not know. Amara went to the bank the next morning. Her joint account with Chidi had been emptied. Every single kobo, gone, transferred out. She checked her personal savings account, also emptied. Chidi had forged her signature and withdrawn everything. Amara sat in the bank manager's office and felt like the walls were closing in on her. Everything she had worked for, everything she had saved, everything she had built, gone, taken by the man she loved, the man she trusted, the man she gave everything to. The days that followed were the darkest days of Amara's life. She could not pay her rent. She was evicted from her apartment. She had no savings. She had no family in Lagos to fall back on. Her parents were in the village and they were not wealthy. Her friends tried to help, but they had their own struggles. Amara found herself sleeping on the floor of a friend's small room with nothing but a bag of clothes and a broken heart. She cried every night. She could not eat. She could not sleep. She lost weight. She lost hope. She lost herself. But then something happened. Something shifted inside Amara on a night when the pain was so heavy she thought she would not survive it. She was lying on the floor staring at the ceiling and she made a decision. She was not going to die here. She was not going to let Chidi's betrayal be the end of her story. She was going to get back everything he took from her, and more. She did not know how. She did not know when, but she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Chidi was going to pay. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day. And that day would come when he least expected it. Amara wiped her tears for the last time. She got up from that floor. She took a bath. She looked at herself in the mirror and said to her reflection, "You are not finished. You are just getting started." And from that night forward, Amara became a different woman. She started small. She took a low-paying job as a bookkeeper for a small business in Lekki. She worked harder than anyone else. She arrived first. She left last. She learned everything she could about business, finance, and investment. She saved every spare naira. She lived on the bare minimum. She ate simple food. She wore simple clothes. She did not go out. She did not socialize. She had one focus, one goal, one mission: rebuild. Within a year, Amara had saved enough to start a small side business. She began offering accounting and bookkeeping services to small businesses in Lagos. She was good at it, very good. Her clients trusted her because she was thorough, honest, and reliable. Word spread. More clients came. Within 2 years, Amara had grown her small business into a proper consulting firm. She hired 2 employees, then 5, then 10. By the 3rd year, Amara's firm was handling accounts for some of the biggest small and medium businesses in Lagos. By the 4th year, she had expanded to Abuja. By the 5th year, Amara was a millionaire. But she never forgot. Through every late night, through every early morning, through every deal closed and every naira earned, she never forgot what Chidi did to her. She never forgot the empty apartment, the empty bank account, the empty safe, the floor she slept on, the tears she cried. She carried that memory like fuel in her chest, and it burned every single day. During those 5 years, Amara had also been quietly keeping track of Chidi. She knew where he was. She knew what he was doing. She knew that he and Vivian were still together. She knew that they had opened a restaurant in Victoria Island using money. Her money. She knew that the restaurant was struggling. She knew that Chidi was in debt. She knew that he had borrowed money from dangerous people. She knew everything, because Amara had been watching, waiting, planning. On the 5th anniversary of the day Chidi emptied her life, Amara made her move. She did not go to him directly. That would have been too simple, too expected. Instead, she did something far more calculated. She used her business connections to buy the building that Chidi's restaurant was operating in. She bought it through a shell company, so Chidi would not know who the new landlord was. Then she tripled the rent. Chidi could not afford it. He scrambled to find the money. He borrowed more. He begged investors, but no one would help him because his reputation in the business community had already been quietly destroyed by Amara. She had spent months strategically letting the right people know about Chidi's history, his fraud, his theft, his lies. She did not do it loudly. She did it in whispers, the same way gossip travels. Quietly but effectively. Within 3 months, Chidi's restaurant was forced to close. He lost everything. The business, the equipment, the staff, everything. Vivian left him the moment. The money dried up because Vivian was never there for love. She was there for the lifestyle. And when the lifestyle disappeared, so did she. Chidi was broke, homeless, desperate. And then one day he received a letter, a legal letter. It informed him that he was being sued for fraud, theft, and forgery by a company called ANC Consulting. He did not recognize the name. He went to the court hearing, confused and desperate. And when he walked into that courtroom and saw who was sitting on the other side of the table, his entire body went cold. It was Amara, but not the Amara he remembered. Not the quiet, trusting, soft-spoken woman he had married and robbed. This Amara was different. She was sitting in a tailored designer suit. Her hair was perfectly styled. Her skin was glowing. Her posture was straight and powerful. She had a lawyer on each side of her, and she was looking at Chidi with the calmest, most controlled expression he had ever seen. There was no anger in her eyes. No sadness, no pain, just power. Pure, undeniable power. Chidi's mouth fell open. He tried to speak. Amara. He whispered her name like a ghost from his past had just walked into the room. Amara did not respond. She did not even blink. She simply looked at her lawyer and nodded. The lawyer began presenting the case. Every piece of evidence was laid out. The forged signatures, the bank withdrawals, the emptied accounts, the stolen jewelry. Everything documented, everything proven, everything undeniable. Chidi had no defense. He had no lawyer. He had no money to hire one. He stood in that courtroom alone, the same way Amara had stood in her empty apartment 5 years ago. Alone. The court ruled in Amara's favor. Chidi was ordered to pay back every single naira he had stolen, plus damages, plus interest. It was a sum he could never afford. His assets were seized. His name was blacklisted. His reputation was finished. Chidi walked out of that courtroom a destroyed man. As he walked past Amara in the hallway, she finally spoke to him. She said, 5 years ago, you took everything from me and walked away like I was nothing. You thought I would break. You thought I would disappear. But I did not break, Chidi. I rebuilt. And now you are the one with nothing. The difference between you and me is that when I had nothing, I used it to build something. But when you had everything, you used it to destroy someone. And that is why you are standing here today with nothing. And I am walking out of here with everything." Amara turned and walked away, her heels clicking on the courthouse floor. Her head held high, her back straight, and she never looked back, not once. This is the story of Amara, a woman who was broken by betrayal but refused to stay broken. A woman who turned her pain into power. A woman who waited patiently and struck when the time was right. Because revenge is not always loud. Sometimes revenge is silent. Sometimes revenge is simply becoming so successful that the person who tried to destroy you has to watch you win from the bottom of the hole they dug for themselves. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below what you would have done if you were Amara. And follow this page for more stories like this every single day. Because the best stories are the ones that remind us that no matter how far you fall, you can always rise again.